So now, folks, let's suppose whenever you log in to the office, all right? So you have a punch card. So now let's suppose the moment you enter in a office, first you need to punch it. So you punch the card and you enter the office. Let's suppose you want to visit some development department. So again, development department is sitting in some other bay. So you go to that bay and you punch your card and you enter it. So there is a server room as well. And the moment you punch your card to that server room, it show access denied. Okay. So basically here, these are the authentication and authorization process. It means what? That card. Okay. The card, it means what? Your authentication. Okay. It means what? Yes, you are allowed. But the authorization, it means what? Yes, you are allowed to go to the development department, but you are not allowed to go to the your to your the server department, right? Authorization, it means what? The privileges, right? Authorization, it means what? The permissions, right? So the authentication, it means what? Creating the users. I repeat, authentication, it means what? Creating the users. Authorization, it means what? How exactly you want to provide the permission to the users, whether they have a access to the EC2 or whether they have access to the S3 or whether they have a full access. So the permission define the authorizations. So that's the authentication and that's the authorizations. So now MFA, it means what? That's nothing but creating authentication authorizations. Authentication here, it means what? Credentials, users, and authorization, it means what? Different permissions, policies. Authentication, sign into the AWS, and permission allowed to carry out the request. So this IAM is a web service which help you to securely control access to the AWS services. Remember, this IAM is a completely free. Okay, there is no any charges if you create 1,000 users. Obviously, you cannot create 1,000 users. If you go to the quotas, you will get all the quotas that how exactly you can create a users is number of. Okay, but it's more than sufficient. So the IAM is a free service and also IAM is a global services. So when I say the global services, it means what? Here to in this IAM, you don't need to select any regions and availability zones. So the IAM does not require any regions and availability zone. Why? Because IAM is a centralized manager for AWS console. From here, you can manage everything. So obviously, we are not creating a user for the specific regions and availability zone. It is for the entire AWS because obviously we are using AWS as a global. Okay, so remember AWS, the IAM is a free services and it does not require any regions and availability zone. It's a global services. Okay, so we use IAM to control who is authenticated and authorized to use the resources. Right? I just said that. Just think about that IAM is a tool to centrally manage access and launching the configuration and managing and terminating your resources. So you have a granular control over the access permissions, and this control is completely based on the resources. And this also control help you to define who has permission to which API calls as well. So you manage and access in AWS by creating and using the security policies. Okay, so we learn about the IAM user, IAM groups, role in these specific sections as well. Now, here you can see, we need to create the account. Okay, so there is a one principle. So let me explain that principle first. This give you more clarity. So let's suppose this is our entire AWS account, our AWS console. So here you have your IAM users. Okay. Here you have the AWS services. Then here you have your the IDP. IDP, it means what? Identity provider or federated users, or I can say SSO. And here the fourth principle is the roles, IAM roles. So now here let's understand the principle. Right now, the principle, it means what? That's the entity that can request an action or operation on a AWS resources. So here the IAM users, IAM role are the most common principle that you work with in IAM. Okay, so this principle can also no, be an AWS services such as an EC2, then SAML, that's the security assertion markup language, or the IDP as well. So with this IDP, you can also manage the identities outside the IAM. Okay, for an example, the Okta, which I said about, right? Through the third-party applications, I'm accessing the AWS. Or even though you can also log in with the Amazon, Facebook, Google, and you can also give these external identities permission to use AWS resources in your account. Okay, so the federated users which I'm talking about, so these are external identities that IAM does not manage directly. Okay, so remember these are the principles. So your IAM users also required to access the AWS console, right? Then your AWS service can also access your AWS consoles. Your Okta or your service provider, third party applications, or the SSO, single sign on. I'll explain that shortly. But that can also require, and your roles can also require the access of your AWS console. So that's the reason say that these are the principal identities who require the access of AWS consoles. Okay. And just now, I also mentioned about the AWS API calls, right? So I guess some member also required the information about the API calls here. So now, as you know that I just I already mentioned you that you can access your AWS through the GUI, that's the graphical user interface, CLI, that's the command line interface, and the SDKs as well. Okay. So these are the three access. So as a best practices, you can also apply the principle of least privileges. Now, when I say least privileges, it means that you can create only the credential that user need. For example, do not create the access keys or the keys, okay, for the entire consoles. So it completely based on the or it's a completely based on the requirement here. Okay, so I guess we can I'll explain the API calls or the how we can access the CLI and SDK later on, because it required the some installation on your machines. Okay, so let me show you. So everyone, again, please save the link again on your AWS folder and your links.txt, and you can mention this link for the command line interface. What is SDK? Okay, so the SDK, it means what? Software development kit, and that SDK, what exactly it use? It is just a collection of the tools that developer use to create the software for the specific platform. Okay, so like a debugger, compiler, libraries, documentations, tutorial, guides, right? So it's a contain API information or the frameworks. That's the SDK. So, folks, everyone, okay, you please open this specific link, and as per your operating system, let's suppose if you are Windows, then you can download and install this. If you are using the Mac, then you can download and install this. If you are user of Linux, you can download and install it. Okay, so we require this tool, okay, to access the AWS through the CLI. Okay, so please make sure you have download and install it on your machine. Remember, once you install this specific the packager on your machine, then you will not get any desktop icon. Neither you can see this specific program in your start all programs. Okay. So this is just the additional packager for your operating system. Okay, like Windows update or any other update. Okay, you can't see those update, right? It's merged with your operating system. So same thing, this is just an additional packager which AWS offer, and once you install it, it just merge with your operating system, and it help us to access your AWS through the CLI. Okay. So now everyone, let's understand the rest of the part, that how exactly you can create the authentication and authorizations. Okay. So now here, now first, as you know that the root account. So whenever you create a root account, so by default, you don't have any user, you don't have a groups or anything, right? It's a completely blank. Okay, it's a completely blank here. You don't have any single user is created. So for example, in other any application or in any other cloud, so they have their predefined users, for example manager user, reader users and everything. But here, as per the AWS policy, and AWS say that you need to always need to provide list permission, right? And you need to configure everything from the scratch for the better security, for the better more, I can say, granular informations. So that's the reason. So currently you can see the AMEA, CLI and S3, these are my previous users. Okay, but by default there is no any user is created. So now I hope everyone you are aware about why we need to create a groups, user and policy, these three things. Okay, I'll explain. So now here, let's suppose you have groups. Okay, let's suppose here you have a QA group. Here you have the development group. And here also you have the, let's support support group. Okay, so these are the three different departments. Okay, let's assume. Now let's suppose this is your entire QA department. You have a different bay. Here you also have a different bay, and here the support is sitting in different bay. Now let's suppose you join the company, and let's say your senior say that, hey Ameya, you need to apply the web security policy. When I say the web security policy, it means what? You just need to apply the policy related to the websites. Okay. For an example, let's go to the QA group, development and group and support group, and let's understand their requirement, what website they want to allow and what website they don't want to allow. Okay, so you can go ahead and confirm. So in QA group, there is a many machines. Let's suppose they have a 50 plus machines. These are the different host machines. In development also, they have a different machines. In support also, they have a different machines. Host machine, Windows, Linux, Macs, and everything. Now you go to the QA group and you ask to the QA manager that's, hey, Mr. Manager, I'm here to allow and block the websites. So can you please let me know what is your requirement? So now QA team say that, hey Ameya, actually we are the QA, we are the tester. We need to test a lot of things and we need all the websites. So for my department, please allow all website. Okay, I'll say that please allow all websites. I'll say okay. Then I go to the development department. Then I'll ask the same question that, hey, Mr. Manager, can you please let me know which website you want to allow and block? So development team say that, hey, Amir, what you can do, we want all technical websites. Okay, technical categories of website. Then we need all social networking website. Okay, but what you can do, you can block the job related website, and you can also block all the unethical website like drugs and the pawns and everything. You can just block it. So I'll say it, okay, noted. Then I go to the support department, and support department say that, hey Amir, let's block the social networking website. Okay, we don't want to allow. let's block the job related website. Let's block the job related website. But what you can do, we are support, we also need, some relaxation. So what you can do, you can just allow the sports related website. Okay. And you can then, allow all the official website, and rest of the thing you can block it. Okay. So these are they are saying, okay. Now these are the categories, right? For example, social networking, it means what? Your Instagram, Facebook, and other, right? So now here what happened is that now in QA group you have a 50 machines, development you have a 50 machines, and support you also have a 50 plus machine. So it is not possible for you to go and each machine and configure these settings, right? What you can do is you can simply create one policy. Okay, you can create the policy for these as well. Okay, and you can also create the policy for these. Okay, so you can create these different policies, and what you can do is you can directly apply the specific policy to the group directly. Right, what you can do, you can simply apply these policy to the group. Now what exactly the benefits? So whatever you have a machine inside the QA group, the same policy is applied to that specific machine. So this policy is for the entire machine, this policy is for the entire, and these for the entire machine. So this way, what will happen? You just need to create the groups and policy one time. That's it, right? And then you can play around it. Now another scenario, let's suppose, okay, there is a guy from the QA, this is a machine. And now you got an email from the HR that this specific person now moved to the from QA to the development department, right? So now again, you don't need to create any separate group or entities. What you can do, you can simply move this user to the development department. Now what will happen? On that specific machine, earlier all the website is open, but now this machine is a part of development group. So the user can access technical website, social networking website, job related website, and rest of the thing is completely blocked. Right? And let's suppose there is a new guy comes to you in your office and say that, hey, this machine, okay, it belongs to the support. So again, you just need to add your user to the support department, and then user can access only sports related website, some official related website, and rest of the thing is completely blocked. So this is a use case of any policy, groups, and users. Okay, I hope you understand now, folks, everyone. Now we are also going to create this different one, right? Okay, so we are also going to create a users, we are also going to create a groups, and we are also going to create a policy. So this policy, the website related policy, it's just for an example. In AWS, you will find a different policies. Now let's go ahead and let's create the different one, right? So let's start it with the groups. Okay, so now let me create a group, and I'll say that my group name is admin group. Okay, I'll click on groups, and let's say create a group, and let's say the admin group. Okay, so this user is a part, this group name is a admin. Now here you can see that, okay, this is a users, different users. Currently it is a blank at your end, right? This is currently blank at your end because you have not created anything, but this users is already there. So here the option is that whether this, Ameya is a part of admin group, do you want to add it? So I'll say no, no at the moment. Let's go ahead everything from the scratch. So I'll just say admin group, and now here you can see these are the policies. Okay, here you can see these are the policies. So what policies? I'm talking about this one. These are the different policy. So whenever you create an AWS account, by default, okay, AWS also created a number of policies. These are the default policy. So if you see here any orange icon, it means what? That's the default policy from the AWS. And let's suppose if you create your policy manually, then you can see there is no icon. Okay, so this is how here you can see there is a three type of policies. That's the customer managed policy, AWS job function policy, and AWS managed policy. Okay, so at this moment, okay, what we can do is I'm not going to deep dive on the policy because I want to take the policy as a completely separate sessions. Okay, so now for that, for this admin group, I'm just going to allow the administrator access. Now when I say administrator access, it means what? So here you can see the descriptions. Provide full access to the AWS services and resources. Okay, so let's suppose if you take Alexa for a business, then it means what? Provide access to the poly AVS devices. Okay, so these are the meaning. So now for these admin groups, now I'm just going to allow the administrator access, which is a full access to the AWS resources. Because as AWS say that, what they say that you should not use a root account. What you can do, you can use a root account to create the admin user for you so that you will get a full permission, and then you can configure the rest of the users, groups, and policy. So I'm following the AWS best practices, and I'll just apply the administrator access, which has a full permissions. And let's go ahead and let's create the group. So just now we created our first group is a admin. Okay, so in QA group, there is a two user is already attached. But in admin, we don't have any groups or any user here. So now next thing is that, okay, the next thing is let's see how we can create the user. Just now we completed this part only. We have created the groups now. Okay, we have not attached any system here or the user, and we just apply the default policy. So now let's create these specific users. So let's go ahead and click on users. Okay, let's say click on create users, and I'll say that my username is Amir-K21. As you know that you can access your AWS via three method. Okay, that's the UI. I mean to say you can access your AWS via three method. That's the UI. The second one is CLI, and third is SDK. So now here they say that, okay, whether the user which you are going to create, that's an Amir-21, whether you want to provide the UI access, I'll say yes, obviously, this is my admin user. So yes, I want to provide the user access to the AWS management console. Then second one, whether you want to specify the user in identity center. Okay, so just now I explain about the principles, correct? So either you can access your AWS with the IAM users, or you can also access via IDP as well, right? But let's see first how we can access AWS via IAM users only. Okay, so I'm saying that I want to create the IAM user because I'm not going to use the SSO here. That's the Okta or the IDP. So I'll say that I want to create a IAM users only. Okay, so let's see here. Now the next one is that whether you want to create the auto-generated password or whether you want to create the custom password. So let's see one by one. So I'll say that I want to create auto-generated password here. And here you can see the option user must create a new password at the next sign in. It means what? Obviously you are creating this user for the someone, right? So someone has to, change the password as per their requirement. So here, whenever you create a user, AWS created the auto-generated password. Okay, and whenever this specific user Amir-21, okay, so we provide the username and we just provide the auto-generated password. So the moment Amir-K21 user login, right, user must change the password at the first sign in only. Okay. So let's say apply here, and let's go ahead and click on next. Now here it say that whether this user is a part of any groups. So obviously just now we have created admin group, right? So I apply the check mark. It means what? This user is a part of admin group, and this admin group has a access of administrator access policy. It means what? Full policy. Okay, so we'll apply this. I'll explain this later, and let's go ahead and click on next. So here you will see all the information like in user details, permission summaries, and now let's see the tags. Now what exactly the tag is, all right? So now let's suppose you go to the mall or some mall, and let's suppose you like one t-shirt or shirts, right? So you know, so when we touch that shirt, first we try to find out the tags, right? Now, okay, so we know that the tag is written somewhere near to the collar, right? So we see that, okay, let's see the tags. So why we are doing this? Mainly the two purpose. The first one, what is the cost, okay, of that specific shirt, and second, the size, right? So now this tags is it's very easy process. Okay. So I just need to see the tags, and then I'll get all my information, the basic information, whether the shirt is having which size, then what exactly the cost is, what is the material they are using, any instructions, everything is mentioned on that specific small tags, right? So this tag is very helpful for me, okay, to find out the different shirts. Now see, in AWS, whenever you configure anything, okay, whenever you configure anything, it is an optional option that you can configure the tags, the same use case, right? So tags, it means what? Here you have a key value pairs. Now, if you take the example of shirts, then it is mentioned MRP. Okay, let's say it's in $50. Then it says size. I'll say that the size, let's say it's an M size. Okay. So now here MRP and size is a key. Okay. This is called a key value pair. So MRP and size is a key, whereas value is $50 and M size. Okay. And in terms of shirt example. So now here, what is our tag? So you can give the tag as per your best practices or the requirement. So I'm using, let's say this user is belongs to which department? I'm saying that this user is belongs to the development department. Okay. Then what is no city? I'll say that, let's say this user is from the Mumbai. Okay. And let's suppose you can add the tag. Okay. What is a designation? Okay, I'll say that this user is a manager user. So now I'll maintain this tag every time, not only for the IAM services, but this tag is useful for the anything. Whenever you are configure your virtual machine, whenever you are configure the storages or even though container or anything, everywhere you will find this tag option. Although it is optional, but it is very effective. So because I just now I say that, now let's suppose that storekeeper or the store owner, okay, inform to their employee that, okay, I need ABC brand shirt M size. Okay, let's segregate the ABC brand shirt from the M size. So now it is very easy for their employee. Why? Because they have maintained the tags. Now the same thing here in AWS. Let's suppose your manager say that, hey Amir, can you please let me know that how many users is from the development department. So now that time you can easily download the report by the department. You can select dev, QA or anything. And once you click on dev, you will get a list of all the items, right? And in case of the virtual machine, you mention the tags, right? So now let's suppose there is a use case Let's suppose you are working with the QA department, and whenever you start your office, okay, at 9 a.m., you need to launch 100 machines. So again, if you go to the manually, it takes some times, right? So that time, what you can do, you can maintain a tag, let's say testing EC2 instance. Okay, the name testing EC2 instance. You can just write one simple command, that's AWS space EC2 space start the instance tag. The key is the name and the value is testing instance, and enter. Now what happened? So whatever the tag, okay, you have given to the instances, that's for an example, the test instance, they start it because you have given this command, right? So that's the very important. So that's the reason I'll say that you can start habit to provide the tags. Okay, this will help you a lot in your professional career with the AWS. Now here, okay, so make sure this key and value. So whenever you provide any key or value, make sure, okay, so this is a case sensitive. Okay, first of all, it's a case sensitive. Now let's suppose here, so let's suppose for the first user, you have created this. Okay, that's the department. Okay, and let's suppose here you have given like this. Okay, so let's suppose for one user, you have created a tag department dev, and for the second user, you have created department as this dev. So as I said that this is a case sensitive, right? So might be while downloading report or sending some instructions, right? So you might get a discrepancy because why? This two is a difference. It's a completely different. So make sure while you create your tag, you always maintain a proper key and value pair, and it's a case sensitive. So normally is based on your company. So that's the reason I'll say that it's not any standard which AWS say that you will have to give these and these tags, because my workload is completely different, right? My department is different, or my strategy is completely different. So it is based on you how you want to maintain the tags. It is completely your understanding. So now these are the tags, and now let's create the users. So now the user is created the successfully. Now what is the first thing? First thing, you need to download the CSV file. Okay. First thing, you download the CSV file. So what exactly you have in your CSV file? So you have three things. Okay. That is first is your username. Second one is a password, and the third one is a URL. And here you can see the same thing. Console signing, username, and the password. So you can see it creates some random password here. Now folks, as I told you that whenever you create a user, first step is to download the CSV. The reason is that it's just a one time here. So the CSV options, you will get a one time only. Okay, so that's the reason you need to download this CSV file first. Now here, whenever we created the users, now to log in, right, to AMEA-K21. So they said that you need to use this console URL, right? So what exactly the URL? The URL is https://381492 something number, that then .sign in .aws.amazon.com. So now what exactly it is? So if you see here, this is nothing but my account ID 38149. It means what? I want to log in this AMEA-K21, okay, into my account. So let's copy. I'm using a different browser now, right? Now the reason is that in this browser, I'm logging to the root account. So that's the reason I'm logging into the different browsers now. So here I'll just paste it. Okay, the paste URL. It means what? I'm signing to the IAM user, and the account ID is this 3814. And you can see that the URL, because of the URL, we will get the pre-filled account ID here, which is a 12 digit. And now I'll just need to provide my username, right? AMEA-K21, and let's choose the password. So here this is a copy option. Okay, you don't need to go this like this. You can just copy the password from here, and let's go back and let's sign in our IAM user now. So now the moment I provide the password, it asks me to provide a new password. Why? Because we mentioned that whenever you log in to the AWS first time, please first, to change the password at the first login. Okay. So now this is the old password and this is a new password. And let's sign in. So now, just now, I logged in to the AWS, login to the AWS IAM users. Okay. So now here you can see that whenever you log into the IAM user, you can see Amir-K21 @ my account ID. And in case of root account, you can't see like this. It is just in your AWS name. Okay. So this is how you can identify whether it is a root account or whether it is the IAM users. Okay. And this Amir-K21, also has the admin permissions. Okay. When I say admin permission, it means what? This user also has all the permissions. So now you might have a question that, okay, then what is exactly the difference between the root user, this specific root user, or the admin users? Right? So now, yes, there are some specific difference as well. For an example, now here you can see this is my AME user and this is also administrator user. It has also have the highest permission. But now let's suppose if I go to the billing and cost management. So if you go to the billing and cost management, now here you can see that it will not allow me to access the billing and cost management because I'm logging to the IAM users. So remember folks, this is a default settings. By default, any IAM user, they don't have any access to billing and cost management by default. But you can also give the permission to access billing and cost management to that specific IAM user. This is a default behavior. As I said, this is a default behavior and you can also change it later on as well. Okay. And once you give the permission of the billing and cost management, then there is no difference between the root account and the IAM users. So this is how exactly you can create a users and you can also, change the password. Okay. So these are the things for the IAM users.
Thank you so much for staying with us till the end of the video. I have something special to share. If you loved our content today, then you are absolutely going to adore what's coming next. We have a free class, and the best part is it's available for everyone. This class goes in depth into the topics we touched on today, offering you detailed insights, comprehensive explanation, and even some exclusive content that wasn't covered in this video. All you have to do is just click the link in the description below, or if you are just starting out, just type k21academy.com/AWS02. Now all the information inside the video that we will be covering is listed here. And for the class, just click on the date, enter your name, enter your email ID, enter your phone number, and click on register now. Then you will be redirected to this page. Also, you can add this to your calendars. So I promise this is something that you don't want to miss. So go ahead, click on the link and step into the world where learning knows no boundaries. Till then, keep enjoying. I'll see you in the next video.